welcome to Feeding Your Success. My name is Frank Collins. I want you to know that you have the potential for greatness. Great people do little things with excellence because little things matter. When you understand the importance of little things, then you're headed for success. Never concern yourself with how small a task is. Just do it with excellence. Some years ago, I had the opportunity to open up a store, and I had a lot of small tasks to perform. And I wanted more bigger things to take care of. But as I began to understand it more, that the small tasks were starting to add up, and I started to understand that I needed to go the extra mile, and I wanted to give more than what was expected. Never overlook the small task because the next small task could be the next big things. When you're in high school or college, you want to always remember to, show up on time, be early, do more than what's expected. Prepare for your quizzes and tests. Always seek understanding and ask questions. Remember that showing up is half the battle. That's really one of the keys to life. You got to show up. Nothing happens until you show up. I'm a restaurant owner, and I believe that you have to follow the recipes to the letter. Once I was training once I was in the kitchen, training one of my cooks on terms of how to open up the kitchen, and he thought I was being way too detailed. And I explained to him that, hey man, listen, these are my non-negotiables. I don't negotiate this. This is how we do it. I have very high standards, and I would suggest to you that you have high standards for yourself. Success is a daily grind. You have to be disciplined. You never know who's looking at you. You never know who's watching you. Success is not a light switch. You can't turn it on. You have to work hard even when no one else is looking. Success is also, in my opinion, one of those things that as you're becoming more successful, you have to be faithful to being that way. You have to be disciplined, and you have to be very faithful to someone else long before you ever get to where you want to be. Same thing, that follows the same line with leadership. It's impossible for a leader to lead if he's never been a follower. Again, detailed things are so important. I can't stress that enough. All in life. I have an example in which one time I was at work, and we had some things going on there. The alarms were going off and smoke all over the place, and my employees were really watching me. And little did I know that they were watching me. So, and the next day, once we got through the problem, two of my guys came to me and said, Frank, I want you to know that we're very proud of you. And I said to them, okay, what's that all about? And they said to me, we were watching you because we knew that there was no way that you were going to let us close down. So that gave me the thought that, even when I think that no one is watching, people are watching. And it's just so important to be your best every single day, show up, and just be ready to go. So I want to talk to you about my personal path to success. And, I want you to understand that I grew up on a farm in Georgia, a lot of hard work, a lot of working in the fields, a lot of, pulling weeds, picking up roots. We would call it breaking land when we would tear down the trees, and then then we would have to go out and pick up the roots to prepare that land to be farmed. So I went through a lot of summers like that, and that was hard work, hot. Ultimately, one of the most fulfilling things in my life was the day that my dad told me that he did not want me to be a farmer. And when he told me that, I took it very, very serious. And it was at that point that conversation with my father started the journey for me to become successful, or at least understand the art of becoming successful. Because I do want you to understand that my father was a disciplinarian, and he worked hard, and he believed that I should work hard. And so my hard work came from my dad. So my very first restaurant job, I worked at a seafood restaurant right there in a small town, Cordele, Georgia, called Captain D's. I worked there over summer. Ultimately, I went to McDonald's I left Georgia, moved to New York, lived in Syracuse for a while, worked at McDonald's there, a place called Carmela's Cafe. It's where I really honed my skills and became a manager. And at that point, you're learning a lot. You're learning a lot, and a lot of things are going on. And I want people to understand that being successful, it's not easy. It is truly, truly a daily grind. And you need to understand that there are going to be a ton of pitfalls, but you can never give up. You have to understand that that's part of the process. Every fall makes you stronger. Every fall will make you a better person. You can't teach where you haven't been. So that's important. And then at that point, I left Carmela's. I went to another restaurant called Old Country Buffet. Worked there. I was a line manager. Ultimately, I became a KM. All the time, I'm constantly working toward my goal. Again, folks, a lot of pitfalls. It's kind of like I like to compare it to being a backup quarterback. When you feel in your heart, you have starting potential, but yet you're the third stringer. So now you have to wait your time. And during that time I was waiting, I was always honing my skills. Even in the midst of doubt, I was constantly honing my skills. And that would, again, it's not easy. I'll tell you, there were many times I wanted to give up. There were many times I was like, this is not worth. There's got to be a better way of doing this thing. But I hung in there. I joined the ranks of Olive Garden for a while. Again, a very good company. Worked there, learned a ton of stuff about management and how the philosophy should be followed, and that was a great experience. I learned a lot. I became a wine expert working for Olive Garden. So that was a place in which I honed my skills. Ultimately, my final destination has been with the Texas Roadhouse, and what a great company. What a great company. I remember years ago when I first took a look at the compensation plan, I was blown away, and I made my mind up then. All right, this is it. This is what I've been looking for all my life. So let's go for it. And again, a lot of pitfalls, a lot of things never worked out in my favor, and I had to, just fight every single day. I had to, do it when I didn't feel like doing it. But that was building character. It was building that discipline. Because again, I always say that being successful and having discipline are two things that you have to have. And without those, you don't make it. You don't make it. It's kind of like building. It's kind of like a carpenter going to a job site. Got a toolbox full of tools, but doesn't know what he needs: a hammer or a saw. That's what life is truly about. And it's super important that whoever you are out there, that you understand those important things. One of the most toughest things for me was when I decided I would ultimately look to, run from life. And when you run from life, you always lose, or you run back into exactly what you left, because you can't run. You have to learn to deal with things up front, because life is primary. You can't run from it. So that's important. And I never forget, the time that I left. At the time I was living in Tucson, Arizona. I left Tucson, and I never forget, on my way to the airport, because at that point I had accepted a job with Texas Roadhouse, so I was flying to Detroit. And I never forget, the voice of God came to me and said to me, "You're going to get everything you lost back, but this time you're going to know how to act. You're going to know how to use it better." And the wonderful thing, and I'm going to bring religion into this. The wonderful thing about life and being a believer of Christ is that, Christ never forgets. He's always there. So many years later, just before the day I found out that I would be the owner of the Texas Roadhouse in Cheektowaga, that same voice came back to me, and that same voice said to me, "Remember what I told you." And it was at that point, one morning, I was at work, I was alone, and when that happened, I can honestly say, with all heartfelt right now, that I cried like a baby, because it was at that point I was like, man, all this hard work, and God kept His promise. I had forgot about the promise, but He never forgot about the promise. So I just want people to understand that success is out there. Success is for everybody. There's not one person that cannot be successful. I think that God is obligated to bless us when He understands, and when you do things with a good heart. I used to talk to my stepkids about that all the time. Always do things with a good heart. And I think that that's a huge part of success. So please don't ever forget those things. This is what has brought me to the point of my life right now, and this is what keeps me grounded every single day. So I just want you to know, and thank you for joining me, and I hope I fed into some of your success.